Sports twice an hour.
Newstalk KGVO, AM 1290 and 101.5 FM.
You're listening to Montana Morning with Peter Christian.
A bomb threat at Sentinel High School proved not to be credible. Good morning, everyone. It's Montana Morning. It's Thursday, June 9th, 2016. Sky is overcast. We have 58 degrees in Missoula. The thunderstorms we predicted did not necessarily happen around Missoula, but there were thunderstorm warnings all throughout the rest of western and west central Montana. Our newscast this morning is sponsored by Selway Armory on Stockyard Road. More guns and ammo than anyone in Missoula. The best prices in Montana. They are Montana's premier firearms dealer. Sentinel High School administrators were notified of a bomb threat Tuesday, but after further investigation, Happen Littman with County Public Schools said no credible threat was found.
Sentinel staff and faculty, as well as the administration, were alerted by students to some graffiti that was found in a bathroom stall. And the graffiti was anonymous and just identified a threat that a bomb would go off. It didn't identify a specific school, though it did discuss June the 8th.
June the 8th is what she intended to say there. Littman said the school then followed standard procedures.
Immediately upon notification, the administration notified the Missoula Police Department. We have school resource officers who are in each school, so they work to coordinate with additional officers. The investigation ultimately also included the University of Montana Police Department, and we completed a thorough search of the school to determine if the threat was valid and whether or not the school did contain anything of concern.
School went on as scheduled yesterday. On the afternoon of June 2nd, the Lake County Sheriff's Office was notified of a deceased human body that was discovered inside a camper out on Coombs Lane in Arlee. Sheriff Don Bell has more details.
The unidentified body was transported to Montana State Crime Lab. Lake County Sheriff's detectives and deputies were able to determine the body was likely that of an 18-year-old Richard Warner, who had been living in a camper with two relatives and has not been seen or heard from since February.
Bell said his investigation then led to Wallace, Idaho.
Lake County Sheriff's detectives traveled to Wallace, Idaho, where they located the relatives who had been living in the camper with Murner. The relatives had been interviewed, and the results of those interviews, it was determined that Richard Horner was beaten to death sometime mid to late February, and his body concealed in the camper.
Bell said the body was in an advanced state of decomposition when it was discovered and transported to the state crime lab here in Missoula. The investigation's ongoing. Charges will be filed soon. Yellowstone National Park officials are expressing their condolences after confirming that a young man died after falling into a geyser pool. Park spokeswoman Charissa Reed explains.
I want to really express our sincere condolences to the family. We had a visitor in his early 20s walk off the boardwalk in the Norris Geyser Basin area, and he slipped and fell into a hot spring yesterday afternoon, June 7th, 2016. We did confirm late last night that he was deceased. The person's name is Colin Nathaniel Scott, and he's 23 years old from Portland, Oregon.
Eyewitnesses reported the accident, which Reed said could have been prevented if park regulations had been followed.
We have had 22 deaths in Yellowstone since 1890, all due to thermal area burns. So it's not a totally unheard of event, but certainly one that's tragic and preventable. The reason Yellowstone is a national park is it is a very special place, and the regulations we have in place are twofold. They reinforce our mission to protect places like Yellowstone, and also they ensure visitor safety.
Reed said retrieval of the body has been suspended because the acidity and hot temperature of the water simply left no remains to recover. Yellowstone County has settled a lawsuit brought by a former inmate who claims the county jail was negligent in failing to diagnose his throat cancer for nearly a year. The Billings Gazette reports the county reached the $150,000 settlement with Fred Miller last month. Attorney Kevin Gillen said the county's not admitting any liability with that agreement. Miller had sued the county back in 2014 for $3 million in damages, alleging negligence, cruel and unusual punishment, and violation of his rights. He had been jailed for an arrest of a theft charge in 2009. 43-year-old William Shearer is being held in the Missoula County Jail on a $100,000 bond after allegedly beating, kicking, and strangling his ex-girlfriend into unconsciousness. Chief Deputy County Attorney Jason Marks explained why he asked Judge Karen Orzek for $100,000 bond.
The major charge he's facing is an aggravated assault for an attack that was very serious and pretty extensive. We felt that he was posing a danger to the victim and the community. In addition, he has fairly limited ties here and some criminal history from elsewhere.
Mark said Shearer is eligible for a program called pretrial supervision so that his behavior could be monitored.
He's going to be, if he's released, monitored for alcohol use, be subject to a number of other conditions, including not having any contact with his victim. She did order him screened for the pretrial supervision program. Judge
Orszak ordered Shearer back to jail on $100,000 bail, and if released, will be monitored via GPS to ensure no contact with the victim. Granite County officials have released the name of a 61-year-old man who died when his motorcycle struck an elk on I-90 near Drummond. Sheriff Scott Duncanson told KGVO News yesterday that Dwayne Carlton of Bozeman died in the crash at about 5 o'clock this past Monday morning. Carlton was wearing a helmet but was thrown from his motorcycle after the violence of the collision. He died at the scene. After less than 2 years as Director of Veterans Affairs, Montana, Johnny Ginnity announced yesterday he'll be retiring. Ginnity sent a letter to VA employees that read, and quote, "While there are several factors contributing to my resignation, my family and my health are my main priorities at this time. And as such, we have made this decision after several months of consideration. I will continue to support veterans as I have done faithfully for over 25 years of service through other opportunities," end quote. Congressman Ryan Zinke said he's spoken with Ginnity about the VA position and said there's more to this retirement than just health and family.
He put his letter of resignation in, and I've spoken with him often, and you know I think he was an honorable man. He got frustrated with the system, and he felt that he could not lead the charge of change as he wanted to, and he's a former vet.
According to Zinke, Ginnity expressed frustration over the difficulties of running the facility in Helena. For example, he had to go all the way to the Secretary of the VA just to refurbish some of the older buildings on the campus to make them usable.
It's for family reasons, but also he resigned because our VA system's broke. He recognized that too, and I think there's a lot of frustration. And from a military commander's point of view, you got to give more flexibility and funding to the front line. And what we've done is just the opposite. Even a VA director doesn't have the flexibility.
16 months on the job seems to be a new ceiling for directors of VA Montana. Giddity's predecessor, Christine Gregory, resigned in May of 2014 after taking the position in February of 2013. Finally, something didn't smell quite right about a bus passenger's luggage. Police in Billings say a bus line worker reported that a passenger's bags reeked of pot. A police dog located the man's bags, his last name is Hansen, on the bus, and officers say they found 31 vacuum-sealed bags of marijuana in his suitcase. He now faces charges that include felony possession with and intent to distribute drugs. He's been released without bond, but he will be on GPS monitoring and cannot leave the state. Newstalk time now, 6:13.
Newstalk, KGVO.
Missoula's official weather station.
Partly to mostly sunny skies today with a slight chance of a shower. Temperatures will be comfortable in the mid-70s. Winds will be breezy with wind gusts as high as 20 miles per hour. I'm meteorologist Brooke Foster for Missoula's KECI 13.